Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another video. It is the game preview. Everton taking on Bournemouth this afternoon at the Vitality Stadium. Our second trip to Bournemouth within the space of 4 days, and let's cross our fingers and hope that this one doesn't end up anywhere near like the one did on Tuesday. Last game of course before the World Cup break, coming up against the Bournemouth team that, you know, we'll ignore Tuesday's result for the second. Currently sitting 17th in the Premier League, 14 games played, 3 wins, 4 draws, 7 losses. And as I said before Tuesday's game, prior to that game, they'd actually lost 4 games on the bounce. Lost to Leeds 4-3, Tottenham 3-2 at home, West Ham 2-0, and Southampton 1-0. The last time they picked up a point was in mid-October against Fulham. They had a couple of decent results around that time when obviously Gary O'Neill come in to take over from Scott Parker, beating Leicester, drawing with Brentford and Newcastle as well, obviously after their woeful start to the season. But before Tuesday's game, as I said, not in particularly good form. They have had a little bit of a resurgence under the new manager. They seem to be playing better football. They seem to be enjoying themselves a little bit more, and you know, they seem to be a little bit more frequent and confident in their play, and maybe that was because it was a new manager. Maybe that was because I don't know, maybe the players have reacted to, you know, Gary O'Neill's tactics more than what they did to Scott Parker's. I don't think any of us really expected Tuesday's result. It was an absolutely horrific night at the office for Everton Football Club, an absolutely horrific night at the office for Frank Lampard. And granted, you know, a lot of the players that played in that game on Tuesday will not be featuring later on today, and you know, may never feature for Everton Football Club ever again, given their performance on Tuesday. But as I said, you know, yesterday when we done the review, on Thursday when we done the review to the cup game on Tuesday night, my biggest worry wasn't necessarily the defenders and the players that played in defence on Tuesday, because we know, you know, Connor Cody will be back in there today, James Tarkowski will be back in there today, Vitaly Mikalenko, Jordan Pickford. We know that the back line that Frank Lampard will put out today will be, you know, much more solid and let's be honest, much better than the one that played on Tuesday night. My biggest worry is on Tuesday night, we were watching Anthony Gordon, we were watching Dwight McNeil, we were watching Neil Maupay, and we managed to create very, very, very little. And you know, I would put Demarai Gray in that bracket as well. And okay, Demarai Gray come on and scored a really good goal on Tuesday night and done pretty much what he was asked to do by the manager, but that isn't a guarantee that he's going to do the exact same today. And we know Demarai Gray's been very, I shouldn't say hit and miss recently really, but he hasn't. He's been very miss recently, hasn't he? There's been very rare occasion where he's had a decent game over the last couple of months or so. So that is my biggest worry going into today's game. It's not necessarily the fact that we lost 4-1 on Tuesday, because as I said, you know, every goal we conceded, barring one, were mistakes from players that, you know, won't play today, or a deflected goal which you can't do anything about. It's more the fact that we had our starting Premier League forward line out at any one point throughout the game, and they failed to not even look like getting a shot on target or having a real sort of chance at creating an opportunity and scoring a goal. It wasn't like we were pelting them and we were having chance after chance after chance and hitting the post and hitting the bar and creating chances left, right and centre, and we were just unlucky. We looked very, very void of ideas, void of any real quality, void of any real intensity, any real purpose, any real energy going forward, and that is what worries me going into today's game. Obviously, this Bournemouth team, I think, will be slightly different today to the one that we saw on Tuesday. Again, Bournemouth made a lot of changes to their side in order to give some of their younger players a run out and an opportunity to prove themselves, and they did exactly that. We obviously saw Jamal Lowe on Tuesday night to put in a really good performance. They've obviously got Kiefer Moore to go back in that team, Philip Billing as well, Jefferson Lerma, who's haunted Everton in the past, Junior Stanislas, who actually did play and scored on Tuesday night, and I think Junior Stanislas is in that bracket of players that constantly scores against Everton. Mightn't score against anybody else, but will always pop up and get a goal against Everton. Listen, the reality is this is a Bournemouth team that Everton should be looking to beat. You know, 17th in the Premier League, as I said, below Everton in the league, and haven't had a Premier League win or picked up a Premier League point for, in the last 4 or 5 games. And whilst Everton also aren't in particularly good form, and 3 wins all season, and obviously coming off the back of a really, really disappointing Premier League defeat to Leicester City last weekend, this is a game that I don't really think Frank Lampard can afford to lose. I really, really don't. I think we've already heard, a lot of talk and a lot of murmurs over the last week or so about pressure on the manager and, what could change at the football club over the coming weeks, obviously with the World Cup break. And, there have been conversations and discussions, whether you agree with them or not. That isn't really the point. I said this on Tuesday night. It's not really the point as to whether we agree or whether we disagree or whatever. The point is that these conversations are being had about whether or not Frank Lampard is good enough, whether or not Frank Lampard will be the Everton manager going forward. And I think if he loses this game today, those conversations will only be intensified. And I remember sitting here at the start of the season and talking about Frank Lampard and whether or not he'd be a success going forward, and what the telltale signs of that would be, and where we would look to be in the middle of the season if Frank Lampard was to stay on as manager. And I remember saying the big sort of, I think the checkpoint, if you like, of the season is how we are doing going into that World Cup break, because the minute we go into that World Cup break after this game today, the owner is given a month, 6 weeks, whatever it is, to really, really contemplate on whether or not things are going well at the moment, to gauge a feeling around the fan base as to how they're feeling about the manager, and really just look at where we are in the league table and where we expect it to be, and at this point at the start of the season. And ultimately, if we are to lose today, as I said, those conversations of whether or not Frank Lampard is good enough to take Everton forward will only be intensified. And then we've got a period of 5, 6 weeks, 7 weeks, whatever it is, without Premier League football for everybody at that football club to sit back and ponder whether or not a change needs to be made. And that's not me saying that if we lose today, he should be sacked or a change should be made, but the question will certainly be there. And look, if we're to go and lose to Bournemouth twice in 1 week, absolutely no disrespect to Bournemouth, but, questions would need to be asked, especially given, as I said, it will be a different Everton team that we see today. My biggest worry is, how does Frank Lampard get the best out of these players, and specifically that forward line? I'm not worried about James Tarkowski and Conor Cody today, because I know they'll play in the centre of the defence, and I know they'll do the same job that they do every single week in there. They'll be solid, they'll be compact, they'll use their height, they'll use their strength, and they'll use their leadership skills to hopefully get us through the game without conceding a goal. Same with Jordan Pickford. I've got no worry about him. My worry is, how do we get the best out of Neil Maupay up front? We know, obviously, from Frank Lampard's pre-game press conference yesterday that Dominic Calvert-Lewin is out of this one with an injury. And although the manager said he hopes to have him back on Boxing Day, I probably think that's a bit of a stretch as well, if I'm being honest with you. We obviously know that Damari Gray will feature, Anthony Gordon will feature. Anthony Gordon played the other night, and whilst we might sit here and say Anthony Gordon isn't as good as what maybe we all think, or maybe he's been a little bit overhyped recently with all of the transfer talk and stuff, Anthony Gordon still should have been more than good enough to have played against Bournemouth's second string team and had more of an impact as to what he did on Tuesday. The only thing he did on Tuesday was throw a slide challenge in, which should have got him sent off. That was the only thing he did. He didn't have any output or any impact going forward. Didn't have any output or any impact with scoring or creating chances. The only thing he did was throw a stupid challenge in that should have got him sent off. And Anthony will play today. I'm sure Dwight McNeil will feature in some parts. So the real question is, how does the manager get the very best out of this forward line? Does it come from Iwobi being played a little bit further up the pitch? Does it come from a change in system, a change in style? For me, we definitely need to change something, because we cannot approach this game with the same game plan of lump the ball up and hope that whoever's up front will be able to win the headers and take it down and be dominant in the air, because Neil Maupay isn't going to be that. And I've had this argument, feels like hundreds of times already over the last 4 or 5 months or so, 4 or 5 weeks or so, as to why, if Everton were, going in the market for a striker in the summer, with the impression that we didn't want to change the way we play. If Dominic Calvert-Lewin wasn't in the team, then why didn't we go and bring in a like for Dominic Calvert-Lewin? Why didn't we go and bring in a 6'3", 6'4" defender? Centre forward who was going to be dominant in the air, who was going to be able to, beat players, who was going to be able to take the ball down. Why did we go out and bring a centre forward who's 5'6", 5'7", or whatever he is, who's never going to be able to beat defenders and automatically make the game so comfortable for the opposition team to manage and so comfortable for the opposition defenders to defend against, because they know, right, okay, these are just going to lump the ball up to him here and we're winning that header every single day of the week. So there's absolutely nothing to worry about. So it will be interesting to see how the manager approaches, how we're going to create chances and how we're going to play today in possession and out of possession, because obviously we know Neil Maupay will start up front unless he throws a massive curveball in there and starts, I don't know, Michael Keane up front or something, and we play in the same way. He's going to have to change something, because one thing I don't want is to be sitting there 10 minutes into the game today and, within the first 10 minutes, you sort of understand that we're not going to do anything going forward. We're not going to create anything because it's the same system, it's the same style, it's the same tactic, and it doesn't work with Neil Maupay. It barely works with Dominic Calvert-Lewin because of his injuries and because, ultimately Dom isn't the perfect forward in that sense. It will work on occasion. It worked against Palace brilliantly. But then you look at the game against Leicester, you look at the game against Fulham, it didn't quite work as well. It definitely doesn't work with Neil Maupay up there, because he just hasn't got the physical strength, power or presence to be able to play in that way. So it will be interesting to see what the manager does and how the manager approaches this game. I do think we'll see a change to our usual starting 11. I don't think we'll see both Amadou Onana and Idrissa Gana Gueye starting. Now, whether or not that means one of them will come out for James Garner, or whether that means we'll see a completely different sort of system and maybe formation, I don't know. As I said, I'm sure we'll wait and see. But I can't see both Onana and Garner starting, because at the end of the day, Frank Lampard has been very, very persistent with his systems recently. He's been very persistent with the starting 11, and you would almost think that we've been flawless in the Premier League, the way in which Frank Lampard has been consistent with that starting 11. It's been Onana, Garner and Iwobi in the midfield, the usual back line, and more often than not, Gray, Gordon and Calvert-Lewin, or it was Maupay before Calvert-Lewin returned, and the other occasion you might get McNeil in there instead of Gray, or McNeil in there instead of Gordon. But that midfield core has very much stayed the same, ever since its inception, really, and I think that will change today. I think we'll see James Garner in there. Whether that will be for Onana or Gana Gueye, I think is a flip of a coin, if I'm being honest with you. But I think we'll see something different, and that then is James Garner's chance to show something that we haven't seen so far. If I'm being perfectly honest with you, and I said this when we talked about the cup game, I wasn't massively impressed with James Garner the other night. I wasn't, and I've always said on this channel, I'll only ever come on and I'll only ever be honest. I'll only ever say how I feel, and I won't ever lie for the sake of agreeing with everybody else. I wasn't massively impressed with James Garner on Tuesday night. I thought he'd done okay. I don't think he was particularly at fault for anything. I don't think he was particularly awful, or he stood out as being awful, but I expected more. I expected him to control the game more. I expected him to be involved much more than what he was. I expected more out of him, considering we were playing Bournemouth's second string team. Now, if James Garner's to play today, he's going to have to bring more, because this is now a much more important game. Okay, on Tuesday night, there could have been an argument that we haven't won a trophy for so long and we need to have a good cup run and all of this stuff. But this game is so important, so important today, because the reality of the situation is, as I said, we go into the World Cup break on the back of another defeat, 2 defeats on the bounce, 2 defeats in the same week against the team that you would have looked at 2 weeks ago and said we'd have been beaten comfortably. Then it piles an awful lot of pressure on the manager, and we're all going into the break thinking I think that would put us maybe in the relegation zone, depending on how other results go throughout this weekend. And can you imagine going into that World Cup break in the relegation zone, and you're telling me that the owner won't have a serious think about the manager's position? I just can't see it happening. So listen, it's imperative that we get something out of this game of football today. I'm never going to sit here and say Everton need to go out and win an away game, and I'm confident we'll go out and win an away game because, Everton and winning away doesn't really go in the same sentence. But we need to come out of this game with something today, and there's absolutely no reason why we can't win this game, and that means if somebody like James Garner is given his opportunity, he needs to be able to take it. He needs to be able to take it. He needs to be able to snatch it with both hands, because ultimately, James Garner has been on the peripheral of this Everton team, and I don't blame him for that, because the reality is for the most part, 75% of the time, the midfield of Onana, Garner and Iwobi has worked. When it hasn't worked, it's been persisted with because, we've said, oh, they had an off day, or it was a one-off today, and then they'd come back the next week and they'd perform. If James Garner is going to get in this team today, for whatever reason, whether it's because Onana or Garner have had knocks over the last week, whether it's because the manager wants to give Garner a rest or Onana a rest, whatever it is, if Garner's going to get in this team now, he has to take that opportunity. Although there's a World Cup break and, the players will go away for the World Cup and we won't have another game until Boxing Day, James Garner needs to come out of this game with the manager thinking, after the World Cup, when we come back for Wolves on Boxing Day, fucking hell, he was excellent there then, actually. When I'm thinking about me starting 11, James Garner was brilliant against Bournemouth. He was a big part of the reason we won that game. That's the conversation that the manager needs to be having with himself. Not, well, I'm going to go back to Onana, Garner and Iwobi because James Garner didn't really do much. Listen, we can beat around the bush as much as we like. We can have as many conversations as we want about the forward line and the midfield. Everton have got to go out and get something today. It's as simple as that. Everton have got to go out and get something today. Everton have got to go out and, for me, win this game. As I said, I'm a little bit cautious because Everton and winning away doesn't usually happen. But we need to absolutely get something out of this game. We cannot lose this game. If we lose this game, I can't even begin to imagine, the conversations and the discussions that we'll be having over the course of the next 4 or 5 weeks that the World Cup is on. Because the reality is for as much as we're much better than we were last season, and defensively we're much better and we're much stronger and we're much more solid and there's more leadership and we've got more athleticism in the team, we'd still be going into this World Cup break in a very, very dangerous position. So, yeah, it's as simple as that. For me, we need the reaction. It's difficult to say I think we will get a reaction because I think 5-6 of the players that played on Tuesday night won't play. Today you won't have Decore won't play, Davis won't play, Keane won't play, Holgate won't play, Vinagre won't play, Begovic won't play. That's 6 already. That's 6 already before, Patterson probably will play. So that's 6 before you've even gone into the forward line. So it's difficult to sit here and say we'll see a reaction because the majority of that team that played on Tuesday night won't play today. So, but we need the reaction from the manager, and we need the reaction as the sense of that we can't go out and lose against a Bournemouth for the second time in a week, especially in the Premier League, because we need as many points as possible. And last week was a game that I think a lot of us went into thinking we'll win here. Leicester aren't in great form, they've not had a great season, we're at home, under the lights, this, that and the other, will win today. And we were absolutely horrendous, and we need to see a difference today. I can't sit there and watch Everton again thinking, yeah, we're not winning this game. I knew from the opening 5 minutes on Tuesday we weren't winning that game. I just knew it. You just get a feeling and you just know the way we set up and the way we were playing. You just know we weren't winning that game. We can't be sitting there and having those same conversations today. Let's get into some of the live comments then. John says, can't wait to see lump the ball up to 4-foot Mopey for 90 minutes. Well, it won't work, mate. It won't work. It's as simple as that. Jason says, hi, Cam with the Toffees. I will take a boring 1-0. Been wondering if we may have more goal chances if Townsend was fit. Well, listen, the sad thing about the situation is, and this isn't me having a go at Andros Townsend or trying to disrespect Andros Townsend. I think I said this to me dad walking home from the Leicester game last week. Andros Townsend would get straight back into this Everton team. Whether we want it to happen or not, whether we like it. And I've seen a couple of people talking about this on Twitter and saying, oh, what a joke that people are talking about Townsend. The reality is Andros Townsend offers more than what Damari Gray and Anthony Gordon offer. Whether you like it or not, whether you want to accept it or not, Andros Townsend creates more and offers more than our two wingers at the moment. Whether that's should be the case or shouldn't be the case, whether that is right or wrong, well, it's right. It's right. That's exactly the situation. So, if he was fit, I think he'd be getting in this Everton team, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. The fact of the matter is he's not fit, and whether or not he'll ever play for Everton again is a completely different question, given his is injuries. But I would absolutely take a boring 1-0 win today. Absolutely. Matty Blue Nose says, morning Cam, hope you're doing well. Do you reckon he'll bring Vinagre on during the game? Hopefully get more attack and press because Michaelenko's so defensive. No, I don't, if I'm being honest with you. Maybe. I don't think Vinagre showed an awful lot of attack and press last week on Tuesday, if I'm being honest with you. Okay, if he'd have been brilliant on Tuesday night and been throwing crosses in left, right and centre and getting assists, you'd sit in and say, well, yeah, maybe, but I just can't see a situation in which Lampard makes that change. Stevie Lamb, I've got your son sat on the couch behind me, hungover, probably still drunk actually, to be honest with you, mate. Steve says, morning Cam, just can't wait. Just can't see us getting anything today. Another ground we genuinely lose. Yeah, we haven't got a good record at the Vitality, have we, to be fair? I remember that game a few years ago when Ross Barkley scored in the 94th minute and there was a sort of mini pitch invasion. We all thought we'd won the game, and then I think it was Stanislas went up the other end and scored the equaliser, and we were all sitting there thinking, how has this happened? And we genuinely haven't got a great record down at Bournemouth, and we genuinely don't do well. So yeah, let's hope that can change today, and let's hope that today can be the difference. Matty Blue Nose also says, have you heard any news on Godfrey? I feel like he could play left back when he comes back, got the pace up and down the pitch, but I also think he will be perfect next to our two main centre backs. I don't think. Well, I'm pretty confident in saying we won't see Ben Godfrey until after the World Cup. It'll be interesting with Ben Godfrey because he is the best. He was the best centre half we had for me. The most consistent centre half we had for me before Tarkowski and Cody come in. Now obviously Tarkowski and Cody have come in. Godfrey picked up an injury. Godfrey actually picked up that injury before Connor Cody signed for Everton. Connor Cody's transfer to Everton was accelerated because of Ben Godfrey's injury. So it'll be interesting to see how the manager implements Ben Godfrey when he's back to fitness, whether it be as a makeshift left back, whether it be in that centre half position. I don't know. But I do think he will use him. So it'll be interesting. And Matty says, I'm not drunk, I'm absolutely rat-arsed. I'm surprised you're still awake, if I'm being honest with you, mate. Anyway, let's jump into our predicted starting 11 then. No point in dilly-dallying about regarding this one. In goal, Jordan Pickford. Yeah, obviously he's just had the England call-up, which was to be expected. I don't think any of us were shocked about that, including him. He's Everton's number one. I thought Asmir Begovic was poor the other day, if I'm being honest with you. I don't think he looked anywhere near the level he should have looked, and maybe that's been a little bit harsh, and maybe that's been a little bit, emotional because of the result, but I just don't think he was anywhere near good enough to even have a conversation about him taking over from Jordan Pickford. Jordan's the number one, and Jordan starts. Left back, I am going for Michaelenko. Again, I don't think Vinagre was too bad the other day, if I'm being honest with you. I don't think he was too bad, but the reality is, Michaelenko's our number one left back. I think Michaelenko's been played really, really well in the last couple of games as well, to be honest with you. Defensively, I thought he's been really solid. Even the Leicester game, he was our best player. Despite the fact it was such a poor performance. Centre-backs, Cody and Tarkowski. If anything was more clear, it was that we absolutely need these two in defence. I think I tweeted on Tuesday night when we went 4-1 down, thank fuck for Tarkowski and Cody, because I can't even begin to imagine where we'd be if we had to play with Michael Keane and Mason Holgate and Yerry Mina in the Premier League. Right back, I am going with Nathan Patterson. He did make a mistake on Tuesday night. Hopefully that was the one mistake that, he's gotten out of his system now, and hopefully we don't see another mistake like that. But yeah, Patterson for me goes in at right back. He's been flawless this season other than that mistake on Tuesday. And he's our number one right back, so the reality is he's in there. Midfield, I am going to go with James Garner and Onana, with Iwobi a little bit further forward. The reality is, I think if Everton are going to be creative today, I think if Everton are going to create chances, I think if Everton are going to have any chance of scoring goals and winning this game, it will come from Alex Iwobi. Let's be honest, I can't sit here and confidently say I think it'll come from Demarai Gray. I can't sit here and confidently say I think it'll come from Anthony Gordon. But I can sit here and say, if it's to happen, I think it will come from Alex Iwobi. And therefore, I think he should be pushed a little bit further forward in that midfield today. I don't think we'll see Garner Gay, mainly because he went off with an injury last week, and obviously he's the much older of the two between Onana and Garner. I think we'll see James Garner given his chance. I think the fact he was taken off in Tuesday's game shows that as well. And I think we'll see Onana in there as well. One thing we absolutely need is a much better performance from Onana than the one that we had last weekend against Leicester. The performance against Leicester was woeful. And then forward line, I am going to go with Maupay up top with Gordon and Gray either side of him. I'm not going to lie, absolutely none of that front three give me any sort of confidence or any sort of hope that Everton are going to go out and get something in this game. But the reality is we've got nobody else to go in there, and there's nobody I'll look at and think, yeah, he's got to start because he'll make an impact. We've just got to hope that the three of them have a good game, and that Anthony Gordon gets his head out of his arse, and that Amari Gray can take the confidence and maybe a bit of momentum that he got from the performance on Tuesday night, or the goal on Tuesday night, and take that into today. Anyway, there you go. That is my predicted starting 11. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you're watching the YouTube video, let us know your thoughts in the comments. But yeah, that's pretty much it. A big game for Everton. For me, a must win before the break if we want to calm everything down a little bit and, go into the break feeling a little bit happier. I think a defeat today would be absolutely horrendous. I think a point today wouldn't be good enough, but, we'd probably be able to put that behind us. But a defeat today would be absolutely... I can't even begin to imagine how it'd make us feel. We can beat this Bournemouth team. The reality is they haven't picked up a Premier League point since October. Obviously, they beat us on Tuesday, and that's, a different situation. But this is a team we should be looking at going and beating. But then again, what gives us the right to say that? Because we're absolutely awful at the moment as well. But anyway, we are going to leave it there. If you have enjoyed this one, please do leave a like. Massive thanks to everybody for watching the live comments. I really do appreciate it. If you're watching the YouTube video, leave your thoughts down below, and we'll get involved with as many of them as we can as well. We'll be back later today with the instant match reaction and the player ratings, so look out for those. And yeah, please subscribe to the channel if you are new. Leave a like if you have enjoyed it. Big thank you all for watching. Up the fucking Toffees. Let's go and win an away game. Let's hope we can go out and win an away game, because we've only done that once this season, and yeah, let's hope we can do it again today. Big thanks for watching, and we'll see you later.